But it's going to give you an opportunity tonight to look over their concepts and have input. So I would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for helping us get this together. It started approximately 2 years ago. Amy, Jackie, and the rest of the Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank the City Council members who are here tonight. Thank you for being here. And Jerry, I'd like to recognize you. Jerry he made this particular building accessible tonight. I think we could have packed it in City Hall, but it would have been very crowded. But anyway, I'd like to thank all of you for being here tonight, because if you're here at this time of the evening, and it's as hot as it is, I figure you're dedicated. So thank you for being here. I'll turn it over to Marcia, Mike, and Robert.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
I'm Mike and Robert.
Yeah. Apparently he represents both of the gentlemen with us this evening, but Mike is actually on his way. He got stuck in traffic, as I'm sure some of you are aware. It was a little crazy getting in. But I do have Robert Binder here, and I'm Marcia Swider with Kimley-Horn. And really, I think we can just go ahead and kick it off. I think we're going to do a little toss back between the two of us and give you an overview of what we've done thus far in the process. Because I do see some familiar faces, but I also see some new ones. So that's really great. We like being able to share this information with really everybody, because tonight is also about your input. So much of what you see around the room and may have had the opportunity to kind of glance at are exhibits and ideas that came out of a stakeholder meeting that we had held with the Downtown Alliance here in Jasper. We got some initial feedback and got to get a really good idea of kind of what this process meant and what they wanted it to be. And then from that, we actually met a couple of months ago, and that was kind of our first take at giving you some ideas of here's what we've thought about, here's how we're looking at the city of Jasper, and getting some initial feedback, which I'll go over and show you some of the outcomes of that. But do know that later on, all of these boards are going to be put into play. We won't keep you up here and bored with the presentation the entire time. Our hope is that you'll be able to get up out of your chairs, move around to some of our different exercise stations, and really give us some good feedback this evening. All right. So, Mayor Weaver took it on. He took that welcome bullet right off the list. Project introduction and overview is about what I'm about to go through. If you didn't get an opportunity, do sign in. We like to keep a running record of who all attends, and that way for our next meeting, we can actually contact you individually and give you some more of the times feedback for when you can expect us back here in Jasper. We're going to go over our concepts, so what you see around the room. Then we're going to break out to group exercises and then have some initial wrap up at the very end. So, to give you a little bit of an idea of kind of where we are in the process, we just made it past kind of the halfway point, and we're now entering into phase 3 of the concept development, and that's where we are tonight. You are here at the public open house. And this really has been somewhat of a long time process. I think Amy, we started in Alpharetta. It was 2 years ago. 2 years ago at this point.
Well,
so, almost, yeah, almost. It was a really, really great opportunity for us to kind of give some of your community leaders some insight and a great example of what Jasper could be and how other cities have done it. So we invited them out to the city of Alpharetta, and we've now taken it back and are bringing that knowledge here into Jasper. So we hope to help you improve and move Jasper forward. So project goals. This came out of, all these project goals actually came out of the initial stakeholder meeting that we had with the Downtown Alliance Committee. And some of the main things that came out of this, we really took to heart and wanted to denote, because we've carried a lot of this philosophy and theory throughout the process and into our concept. So the first being create excitement. Jasper has a lot to offer, but I do think that there's a level of excitement that needs to be created for Jasper to kind of take the next step. Bringing people in the community together. You guys have a great community here. I do think that there is an opportunity to create a stronger community and really come together to improve and kind of take Jasper into the next decade. Create a destination for visitors and locals. Locals, you all know where to go. You all know where to wine and dine. You know your way around Jasper, but how do you capture those visitors who are simply going through Jasper? How do you let them stop, stay, shop, and eat in your downtown? Improve the downtown appearance. provide an economic boost to downtown. So right now you have a really great economic fabric, and we're looking to expand upon that fabric and therefore strengthen that fabric and really bring some good economic development to your downtown core. The other being wayfinding and signage. A lot of people that come to the city don't necessarily always know how to get around or where the destinations are that they need to be keeping an eye out for. So during one of our exercises this evening, we are going to be looking at that a little bit more closely. Reduce traffic congestion. So as Mayor Weaver has the main reason for this whole study really initially was looking at the traffic in and around Jasper and how does that play a role in Jasper as a whole, both from an economic development downtown standpoint, but then also moving forward and being able to adopt some of the ideas that have been out there, and specifically one in which we'll talk about later on that GDOT has proposed. Create connectivity and address the parking issues, mentioned specifically on court days being an issue for parking. So, what is the study area? It's kind of the maps you see around the room. If you take a closer look at it, and you go to the next slide actually, this paints a little bit better of a picture. So everything in purple, or somewhat pink I guess on the screen, is CBD, Central Business District. So everything that's captured within your current zoning regulations happens to fall exactly within this study area. It's the core of what we're looking at. It's what we're looking to preserve, what we're looking to enhance, and what we're looking to grow. Surrounding that, you have pockets of business districts mixed with residential and higher density commercial and lower density commercial. So it's a really great blend, and we're really focused at the core from Sanders Street to Main Street. We kind of come down at the edge of East Church all the way down to Stellars and Holly. So it's kind of a big loop. We hit a lot of really key areas, which we'll dive into a little bit later on. So, speaking of which, the last public meeting that we had, we did one of my favorite exercises. It's a very quick exercise. We simply take red and green dots, and we ask you to place a green dot on the places you would like to see preserved in the city of Jasper. Where do you go to eat? Where would you like to historically see preserved? Where do you think is a great amenity but maybe need a little help? Things that really make you feel at home in Jasper. Red dots, we like to see some change. So maybe there's an opportunity for redevelopment. Maybe there's an opportunity to enhance upon an existing infrastructure. And maybe there's an opportunity to simply do away with altogether. So that's another element of what we're looking at this evening. And using these dots, I want to go through a couple of highlights and share some pictures that Robert and I both captured when we were here on our initial site visit walking around. It's actually one of, I think, the one things that we as planners really enjoy doing is actually kind of putting our feet to the ground, going out with some measuring sticks and cameras and notepads. People always wonder, what are these people doing in our city? But we're always taking pictures. We're capturing and trying to understand your city a little bit better and maybe looking at it with a different perspective. So what is so great about Jasper? We're going to move through some of those. So I'm going to take you through some of the big ticket preserve items. The first one being, drum roll please, the courthouse. So if you go to the next slide. This was a great day for me to be in Jasper and capturing a lot of the activity that I think is so wonderful about this community. There's a lot of history here. I think that day I got to hear about 3 different generations speak. And I was able to capture that and really show the community and the gathering space that the courthouse does. Though it may cause some strife in other areas, it at least provides a great public icon for the city of Jasper. So moving on to the next one, we'll go through these kind of quick. This one, I captured some of the areas that I think are really great in Jasper. You do have a very walkable core of your downtown. Granted, you may not necessarily be able to connect to all the things that you do, but for the core area, you're able to get around very easily. So that was something we're looking to preserve and build upon. This one, it was a big opportunity we discussed. There is a city-owned parcel at the corner of Main and Church, right? Yes. Okay. And currently this is being used as a farmer's market, is that correct? So we're looking to build upon that. If you're already utilizing it as a public space, well, let's take that city-owned property and let's turn it into something. So this was really identified as a place to preserve and enhance upon. The next being all the way over, we did want to highlight, there weren't a whole lot of dots on here, but we wanted to add a little bit of our own. We wanted to point out that you have a great city park. This is an amenity that I think we can better connect to the downtown area, especially if it's being utilized in a recreational sense. And then this one was actually the old jailhouse. So old Pickens County Jail. This is something that I do think when people come to the city of Jasper, it's very well advertised on your website. This is a place to visit. And this is also something that we think can be enhanced upon. Well, if they go to the county jail and they see the history there, where are they going to go get lunch? Where are your visitors going to go after that? And that's kind of making a better connection to get people from these iconic historic places to other areas of your downtown. And this graphic was really put together to start to highlight some of those big preservation areas. So in green, we've highlighted some of the key properties that we think illustrate and represent the downtown character and what that looks like. In orange, we have city-owned properties highlighted. So again, the area I was talking about where you currently have a farmer's market. And then in the teal blue, we have civic and institutional. So you have a lot to connect here, from the technical college to the local churches to the elementary and middle schools. There's a lot going on that it's just right there at the core, and we're looking at how to better connect that both from a traffic vehicular standpoint as well as a pedestrian standpoint. And so some of the challenges we experience in Jasper, yeah, you can go to the next slide. Oh, yes, I forgot about this one. So strengths. One of the other things we do is, in one word, give us your feedback on a strength of Jasper. What do you think of when you think of Jasper? And the idea with this is the more it's mentioned, the larger the word becomes. And we were able to input that feedback and actually extrapolate them into this, what they call Wordle. And this starts to show you a lot of the big words that come to mind when people think of Jasper. So community, tradition, historic, mountains, quaint, loyalty, vista. Vista was one that I played off a lot of the mountain views. I think that's a really, you have wonderful view sheds within the Jasper area. So really take this to heart, because I think this represents a lot of what we currently feel Jasper is, what we want it to maintain to be, and what we hope to enhance more in the future. All right, so now on to challenges. Some of the key properties are highlighted in the dot exercise, and the first of them being the outdated strip center that's just across the train tracks. So this is something, it's currently, any time of day you can look down there, this parking lot is not necessarily full, so it's kind of this vast open space that is underutilized and happens to be very much adjacent to the downtown fabric. The next one being the old train house. So this was a unique opportunity. I think there were some mixed feelings about this particular area. A lot of people love to preserve it from a historic standpoint, but then people were also putting red dots on it, trying to speak more to the traffic congestion and or just general lack of wayfinding that occurs in this area. So it's just behind, I believe, a tire area, and it crosses the train track. So again, those train tracks currently have acted as somewhat of a wall to development and how it kind of spans out within the downtown area. So we wanted to make sure we looked at that as a way to better cross the tracks and connect between the two areas. The next one. There were some red dots placed on Main Street, not because they're looking to change it, but looking to it from an enhancement standpoint. How do we kind of take that next step? This was a pretty hostile pedestrian environment if you're coming up 53 and getting onto Main. There's not a whole lot of reprieve here. If you're looking to cross the street and go to Jock's Drugstore, it's a little complicated to try and navigate that area. So we're looking to maybe better enhance some of those places, and that's really what that red dot represents. And this one, I believe, if you go to the next slide, this shows you kind of a graphical interpretation of this corridor. I mean, you're looking at back of house of Rite Aid, and then I think to the right of us we have some older homes that are maybe a little more on the dilapidated side. So looking to maybe create better pedestrian connections here as well. I mean, you only have sidewalks on one side, and it leads you straight up to that former slide that we were just looking at with kind of the hostile pedestrian environment. So enhancing upon that. And this one, again, was also some mixed reviews at this particular corner. I think there were some individuals who took some liberties and maybe have used a little bit more red dots than they were allotted. But we will give it to them that this is a mixed feeling at this corner. I think that it has a great opportunity, and it definitely is a very visible place for the city of Jasper. But I guess the question is, does it really say what it needs to say for the city of Jasper? And I think that's kind of what a lot of those red dots were trying to articulate. And then the last one is just taking opportunity by the hand. And you can go to the next slide. And looking at some of these back-of-house opportunities, one of the concepts we have developed is taking a look at East and West Street and making them a little bit more user-friendly, potentially opening up some of the existing retail into a back-of-house sort of flow, so that way you have retail on either side of the street. And if we were to do that, to navigate this place, again, is not the easiest. So on the other side of the parallel parked cars, you have all of but a 3 to 2.5 foot sidewalk, which doesn't give you a whole lot of space to move in the area. So I think that's what the red dot there was trying to say. And the last one, again, taking opportunity by the hand and looking at some of the areas that could use a little bit more sprucing up. This is sometimes the front door of what people see coming through Jasper. And this isn't, though I think you have a great view shed when you're approaching Main Street, by the time you have a chance to enjoy it, you're already headed back down the hill. So it's looking at that and trying to capture the Jasper audience a little bit earlier on as you move through that area. So this starts to highlight some of the development opportunities. I think that these were identified before we did the dot exercise, and I think this very much goes hand in hand with a lot of what we saw you all identifying as areas of opportunity as well. So looking at those as redevelopment areas. And the weaknesses. So same thing as we did before. In one word, describe some of the weaknesses or challenges within the city of Jasper. The one thing that I think it almost should have been larger in this graphic was the lack of vision. And really I think that kind of comes with a mixed heart and feeling of what the city of Jasper is looking to do. I think it's not necessarily a lack of vision, but perhaps more in line with the lack of communication and community involvement that it takes to have that vision and to make that vision come to life. Because I do think that a lot of you, and we saw so very clearly the last time we were here, and when Robert was here last, you all do have some really great vision for this city. It's just a matter of kind of getting everybody on the same page, coming up with a plan, and driving forward. So I don't want to necessarily you to look at that and think negatively about it, but more impactful in the sense that I think you all are ready to do something. And moving on to the next slide, I think we're now going to be moving into the concepts, which I'm going to hand over to Robert, and he'll take you through what we've kind of come up with thus far and how we're going to start to address some of these issues and things that we've taken to light.
So actually, if you look up at the Wordle right now, you can point out multiple locations where you see traffic. So we're going to talk about everyone's favorite topic, traffic.
Yes.
So yeah, we developed some concepts when we were out here in early April for the stakeholder meeting. We walked around the entire study area, did some measurements like Marcia mentioned, we walked it. There were particular areas where it wasn't comfortable to walk. There were particular areas like the quaint downtown Main Street that were awesome to walk on. So we were able to identify through talking to the stakeholders, talking to the community, and walking it, key intersections, Burnt Mountain and Church, West and Church, Main Street and Church, everything those have in common, they're all on State Route 53. So State Route 53 has already been in play since 2008, I believe. GDOT started studying the road to reconstruct and reconfigure it. Currently, they have a concept that is about to get into its environmental assessment stage, and that's what you're looking at right now. It is to turn West Church Street into a westbound only road, one way, and Spring Street via Lawson Boulevard as an eastbound one-way. The concept right now has the eastbound segment starting to the west of downtown and extending down around the middle school and then back up through the existing park and ends up at Spring Street next to the church. Immediately what we thought about, one of the cons of that is it does kind of take you out of the way. It does cut through the existing park across the street from the cemetery. And when we were out here talking to stakeholders, we did hear that the middle school is in play. It's possible that the middle school could be reconstructed. And if that were the case, it could be possible to realign the realignment of 53 to make it a little more direct route. So first concept, it bases itself off of GDOT's current concept. We talked about doing intersection enhancements at those 3 key intersections that I mentioned. That could be pedestrian enhancements, that could be storage lanes for turning vehicles. When we were out here actually, after the stakeholder meeting, we saw the traffic backing up on Church at Main, and it backs up all the way back to the middle school sometimes, as everyone mentioned to us, and we saw that. So definitely that intersection could be a spot where you could have storage lanes for left-turning vehicles. However, with the one-ways, that kind of alleviates that problem. It gives traffic a little more time to get through Main Street. So concept A just bases itself off of the GDOT plan, does intersection enhancements. We wanted to add a little bit more to that, talking to the stakeholders. Initial conversations was talking about making a downtown loop of one-ways. In general, taking Main Street, which has all of the retail activity along it, and turning that into a one-way, it could possibly hurt the economic vitality of Main Street, as has been seen across the country. So we wanted to kind of veer away from that path and take the one-ways away from Main Street and allow all of the local traffic to continue to use Main Street. So as you can see, utilizing Richard Street and Depot Street, it's possible to create a one-way loop that goes north-south while still maintaining two-way traffic on Main Street. This also could minimize the intersection enhancements even more, just as the east-west one-way, because traffic is getting a little more dispersed. Non-local traffic is getting a little more dispersed. So concept 2, when we were looking at the GDOT plan, we were like, okay, that is not necessarily the most direct route. If the middle school gets reconstructed, it's possible that some of the property on the front side of the middle school could be utilized for the one-way operations of State Route 53. So in looking at the concept, push in the eastbound segment, and it utilizes only Spring Street. It saves the existing park across the street from the cemetery, and it basically reduces the distance that you're traveling on 53. So that definitely would be based on if the middle school is reconstructed. Right now, that segment would be too close to the existing building. And just as in 1A, intersection enhancements at the key intersections. And then adding on top of that, if you'd like to do even more, is creating that downtown loop, north-southbound with the one-ways. And then concept 3 is more of a no-build concept. If GDOT decides that it's not going to invest in the realignment and reconstruction of State Route 53, there's still opportunities for Jasper to make the traffic flow through downtown better. So 3A, again, intersection enhancements. If State Route 53 does not become a one-way operations east and westbound, then those intersection enhancements for 3A would definitely have to be more intense than if the roads were one-way, because two-way traffic is all hitting those key intersections. And again, adding on top of that, the downtown northbound, southbound loop. And with the, something to mention, with the downtown northbound, southbound loop, that will allow traffic to utilize Richards and Depot and West Street and East Street would have even more minimal traffic on it, and so that's where the back of the house improvements come into play. You may be able to take away some pavement, create a larger streetscape, make East and West Streets more of a pedestrian-friendly environment, and allowing the retail owners to enhance the back of their house. So with that, we would love to hear your input. We'll walk you through them. We mentioned these concepts are purely concepts, so we want to hear everything you have to say about them. And on the back, all those boards, the 6 boards back there, there's pros and cons for each of the concepts that I probably haven't mentioned all of them. So we'd love to hear you on that. So Marshall will take you through the group exercises.
All right, so we have 3 group exercises tonight. Robert mentioned one, so that'll be in the back of the house. We've got so that is the transportation concept prioritization exercise. It's a mouthful, I know, but really we're just looking to get your feedback on what we've drawn so far. Then the other one we're looking at is Main Street character. Will actually be over here with me. So we're taking a look at from a cross-section perspective, how we can enhance kind of that downtown core that we're looking to preserve. And then finally, gateways and signage. We'll actually be over here with Jerry. He's so kindly volunteered to help lead that effort over here. And that one, I'll walk you through each of them a little bit more. So if we go to the next slide. So the transportation concept prioritization exercise, as I said in the back of the room, go to the next one. We're looking, we have Post-it notes and we've got pens. So we're looking to get your immediate feedback. I absolutely hate it. I love it. Has potential. Whatever it is, we want you to write it down and stick it into the what do you think side of the board. Our hope here is to gather some real live feedback from you all, and then we will be taking that back and looking at each of the concepts again to kind of come to the final conclusion of what we're looking to do. The other element that we're looking to gain some feedback on, I'm going to be including some red dots back there. So similar to the red asterisks that we've identified as some key intersection improvements, we know there are additional intersections that need to be looked at. These just happen to kind of rise to the top throughout our process thus far, but we still want to hear you. If we were to look to implement any of these, where are the other intersections that need improvement? So we want you taking a dot and placing it on the intersection and notifying us, hey, you need to look at this as well. So the next one, as I said, will be over here with me. So we're looking at kind of an existing cross-section through here. I can walk all of you through it when you get over here, but to give you a little bit of background, we've got, I tried to make this as straightforward as possible, but basically if you were to take along Church Street and kind of look north, you're looking at the cross-section right down Main. So you're looking at the side of the drugstore, and then you've got West and East Streets on either side. So kind of what exists out there today. It's a lot of pavement. Not a whole lot of coverage. So here, again, we want you to use those Post-its. We want you to post your ideas. We've come up with a concept down below to kind of conversate from and give you some ideas of ways we could look to use the current infrastructure and build upon it and expand upon it. But we want to hear your feedback there as well. So for that, I'll be over here and help guiding you through that. And then the final one will be the wayfinding and signage. So over here, we've got a couple of scissors, please be careful. Technically, it's one of those things we have to sometimes approve, and City of Jasper didn't seem to have any rules on that, so we're trusting you with scissors. Don't run around with them. But here we've got about 18 different pictures in each of these clipped pieces of paper. And what we want you to do is take a look at them and cut out the ones you like, and then take them up to the board and start to place them where you think you see some wayfinding and signage going. And then we also recognize that a lot of the wayfinding and signage may be happening outside of the district, so what we will ask you is we'll leave some Post-it notes up here. You can simply denote needed on 575 to put a dot on the edge of the paper. We know that you're wanting some signage out there as well. We just wanted to really try and focus on some of more maybe pedestrian scale aspects of wayfinding and signage, but we recognize that there's some traffic wayfinding and signage elements that we needed to look at as well. So take a dot, stick it up where you think signage needs to happen, cut out the pictures you like, You can place them up there or even just put them on the table, the cutout ones, and we'll start to see some of the images that you gravitate towards more. And with that, here, I'll give you these to go back. Yep, that was showing you just placing it on the map. And with that, I want to kind of divide us up a little bit so we're not all going to one. But if we could kind of have maybe the first 6 rows come over here with me, kind of the back half of the room over there, and kind of the front 6 rows on this side, starting over here in the wayfinding signage. That's just to get you going. We won't necessarily have a buzzer to tell you go to the next one, but do please try and make your way to each of the stations. We really want to get your feedback on all of this. And then at a certain point, I'll take a look at my watch, we'll figure out where we are in the night, and then we'll reconvene and kind of give you some feedback for what you all said and some of the conclusions we might come to this evening. So thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing your feedback. Okay, well then I'll leave it to you two. Give us some feedback, what you heard generally about the concepts we have in the room.
Well, number one, the first thing I heard was that no one wants to wait for the DOT to do the one-way for 53, and so that's pretty proactive. The downtown one-way, northbound, southbound, I saw the most yeses on for those 3 concepts. And of course, the bringing people into Jasper and making making non-local traffic come and frequent the businesses as well. If there's any way to use the transportation system to do that, I heard that a lot too. So,
Okay,
Mike,
good.
anything else?
I like I guess we'll call the blue one-way pair option. I got a lot of, I say mostly positive feedback. There are definitely some concerns, particularly if it's pushing a little bit further out from Main Street. I heard also, tired of waiting for GDOT to get the project going.
He used to work for GDOT.
It's all your fault.
It is. So there's that. And one comment of, can one-way pair be split a little bit further east so that it starts a little sooner and not starting right around the school.
Okay.
Everyone talk to me? Did I cover fairly? And
I know we're down to about like a quarter, I think, of what we started with. But over here, some really, really great conversation, identifying key opportunities and placements of where people want to see improvement. A lot of positive feedback. Definitely some confusion into what we drew, so I hope I was able to articulate better what we were trying to portray through some of these exhibits. But ultimately, I think there was a lot more conversation and excitement about what we were showing. Not as many red flags as I think I was anticipating. So that was some really good positive feedback. And then I really loved how people kind of took liberty to the board over here, because I had my back turned to it mostly, and then I turned, I was like, oh my gosh, look at all this. So I started to read some of it, and I really think that people are starting to identify, well, what if we did this here and we did this here? And so I think there's a lot of passion for making some changes in that downtown core area. And you guys have definitely identified where those improvements need to go, so that's good. That means we're kind of all on the same page. That's what we like to see in these sorts of activities. Jerry?
Well, same thing, we had a lot of great input. We did start to run low on the cutouts. So
Okay.
what we did is we saved 4 copies, and we
Okay.
did dots on the 4 copies. So we
Oh,
have a
nice.
combination of
Okay.
cutouts and dots. I did encourage people to take the liberty of putting sticky notes with comments and other suggestions. So I think we gathered a lot of
You
information.
guys like the Lawrenceville one a lot.
I think everybody was very enthusiastic, and I thought it was a great exercise, and certainly appreciate everyone's participation.
Very good. So we hope that by the end of it and your ability to kind of see how all of this comes together, we may not be able to do all of this at once, but we feel that with kind of these 3 mindsets combined, whether it's, we're improving traffic circulation, we're improving the pedestrian experience, we're improving really the patron experience, how do you navigate downtown, that through all of this we're able to create better foot traffic in the downtown core area, and really enhance the economic development that's there now and hoping to grow it more in the future, while also handling the clear traffic issues that happen in and around the downtown core. So with that, I'll open it up to questions and conversations. It's 7:21, so it's a little bit earlier than we thought. That's great, but I'd like to hear if you have any thoughts. Yes?
One of the things I'd like for you to maybe recognize is the area of the wooden bridge.
Oh,
You've
yes.
got the wooden bridge, the water tower, Oglethorpe Monument, the fountain, and the jail in an area that I'm afraid you haven't recognized yet
Okay.
in your.
I think that's fair. So kind of right up there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We definitely have. You drove me across it. I was terrified. I'll be honest. When you drove me across that, I was like clutching to the sides of your car, going, "Oh God, is it gonna break on us?" And then I realized other cars were doing it, so it was safe. It's good. But I do think historically and really visually that is something. I mean, it's also right next to kind of the way you enter Jasper, so that kind of mixed feeling corner that we had a bunch of red and green dots on.
When we were walking around, we actually spent an extended period of time just
looking at the bridge. Yeah, studying the
which
bridge.
is cool.
Yeah, I'm not an engineer, but I was like, well, it looks pretty sturdy. So we will look at that, definitely. I'll add that over here. Anything else?
You and I rode around that day, and I carried you from north to south, turning at the fountain or at the jail, traveling Whitfield Street or West Street to the intersection of Stegall, and then we turned to the right. And then the next block, we turned on to Richard Street. And we talked about that being one-way street, not carrying it through the bank and the other buildings. Will you be able to draw me a concept of what we discussed that day? I need that concept so that I can discuss it to see if people would appreciate that flow instead of the double lanes that we never could build because we'd have to take out the Baptist church for one of them.
Double lanes. I think I'm
And
confused.
in the back, you got a pair of one-ways.
Can you go to the concept first?
I can talk to you about this tomorrow.
Yeah, no. But I want to.
Well,
It's like much further on. There we go.
okay, that is
This is a one-way coming this way.
this is also one way going the other way, and that's an impossibility. We have no road structures in those areas,
Right.
and we're going through the middle of people's lots. We would never be able to buy the right of way, and I don't know if we could ever afford Stearns Bank or not. But then I'm not sure the Baptist Church wants to sell that either. But the way you have your arrows, I know it's a cartoon. It's
Yes.
not drawn to scale.
I like that. That's fun.
Purely
Cartoon.
conceptual.
It's not.
Conceptual cartoons.
Well,
It is cartoon.
is it really, or is it a concept?
It's a concept.
Okay, but anyway, you could have followed Whitfield Street, leaving North Main, and you could have put your arrows right on top of the road and been much more specific how you'd have got down here. I think this was confusing to a lot of people. And hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have a map being very specific to where the roads are and where you can actually get from north to south instead of drawing two circles. That looks like the outer perimeter in Atlanta. That's not what we're trying to get to.
Is the Richard Street you're talking about the yellow road or the blue road?
The left
Okay.
hand.
You're talking about,
It's the blue on the left
Richard
side.
Street runs behind, by the post office, what used to be the post office.
It's the gray off-white on the
And you
left-hand
can't see it.
side.
But you had your hand up, and I didn't mean to get a question and answer contest here. Yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I thought of that too, but now, if you do that, how's that going to affect the parking back there? Because a lot of people that have stores on Main Street will park back there. So would you?
We can write tickets there also.
I'm sorry. Well,
Already made all the right tickets.
I'm saying that if you go one way, maybe you can just have parking on one side of the one way.
We'll have a lot of options because actually the area behind the drugstore would be right next to Mike's property. That street could be a parking area where you could pull in because you can't get out of that area because there's traffic coming over the hill. But by that time, we'll have traffic coming one way and the other traffic will be going east on Spring Street. So I just need a more specific map following the existing roads and not taking out any buildings, because we could.
We can definitely make this more specific, and I think that's kind of the next step we're looking to do. And
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that this is not, we're not gonna take out all these buildings and structures, because we can't afford to buy the right of way, much less build a new road. So we gotta follow the existing roads, and I think if you get that for us, I think the people would appreciate it and be able to understand without going, they really taking my building out with this? Okay, anyway.
No, I understand, and I think that's a valid point, and that's why we like to emphasize that a lot of what we bring out here tonight is conceptual, and it's meant to draw this kind of conversation and this kind of feedback. Because ultimately, the next step is to provide you something that is a little more concrete, has had some thought behind it, has had some input behind it, and has created these conversations. So we give you something that you're able to work from and you're proud of. So I appreciate your comments, and we definitely will look at this more closely, and I'd like to talk to you about it more after this.
Thank you.
Do you feel like we had in the beginning, the attendance, was this from y'all's perspective,
This blew me out of the water.
Yeah.
I was really excited.
I've been to public meetings before where 4 people showed up. It's awesome. Good job, Jasper.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think that's why so much of what happens here tonight and the feedback that we get is so important, I think, for also you all to see of yourselves and kind of recognize the power that you all have, because we can sit here and point at cartoons all day, but at the end of the day, we're not the ones living in Jasper. We're not the ones that are ultimately looking to input and create this and make it happen. That's really up to you all. And so it's powerful to see from our perspective, being, sitting in our offices and creating pretty pictures all day, to really see the passion and the vision that does exist among your group. And now it's just a matter of kind of giving you the blueprint to take up to the next step and make it something real.
While there was a lot of people here tonight, I think there still needs to be more advertisement on this next meeting.
Okay.
Where and when, and plaster the drugstore, plaster this, whatever.
There's a lot of word of mouth, which is
A lot of
good.
word of mouth.
Yes.
That's what I was going to suggest. In fact, Jenna said that possibly if we had, how about if we did text, if you could text us, because I guess the venue was changed at the last moment. Had I not gone over to 61, I would not have known that. And I would have been over at the other place.
Okay.
But just, I don't know how, if everybody's on board about giving out their cell phone numbers, but if you could text us.
And did you get email? Did you ask for emails tonight?
Yes, I asked for emails tonight, so that'll be something we will definitely look to notify you the next time. The other thing I encourage is kind of finding your local representatives and keeping an ear and attuned to them, because at the end of the day, relying on us to make sure you're here, that's something that's not necessarily included in what we need to be focusing on. We need to make sure we're here and we have the local representatives that are doing that outreach for us. So we'll definitely take that back and conversate with our team and make sure that it's more well advertised the next time. But please do make sure you've left your email. And even once we send out notification, forward it on to anybody you know. I mean, that it really is a word of mouth word of mouth thing. So if it's in your inbox, send it out to others.
Marsha, I'd like to make a couple comments about that. Again, it was touched on. We do have the sign-in sheets back here with location to put your email address, so please do that. Secondly, we did try to utilize as many avenues as we could think of. Dan, it sounds like you may have some paper subscription opportunities right here in the room, because we did run multiple things in the papers, and then also, and again, I'm being somewhat facetious here, but certainly we encourage you to join the Chamber of Commerce and get on that distribution list as well. So we do try to get it out as many avenues, but if there are suggestions, we're wide open for it. But anyway, I did want to add that, and I wanted to tease Dan a little bit about his sales opportunity right here in front of us. So thank you again. Thank you.
Yeah, with the progress, Dan, I mean, he covered it news-wise. The city helped us with an ad with a picture.
I got a
and-
Facebook
and
notification.
That kind of thing, so that part to get out, but if we had some of these signs, something like what you've got to put at City Hall, the drugstore, just something like that, that would help us call attention to the next step.
I'm just saying that, I'm not sure, I can't be in front of my computer all day long, so
Right.
I may miss it. That's why I suggested a text, that's all.
No,
And everybody has their phone on all the time.
Right, I appreciate that, and I do think that we'll be sure to look at more outreach opportunities next time we get together.
Have some cookies and coffee, that always draws. That's what we used to do.
Yes, I was bringing them from Atlanta, baking them before I got here in time. Wasn't sure if they'd be fresh enough, so we'll look at that next time though. Anything else?
I think you guys did a real great job from what I could tell, if that's it.
Great, thank you.
Thank
You should be giving yourselves a round of applause as well. This is great turnout. Thank you for being here. This really is what it's all about, and what I think we're most passionate about when it really comes to making these a viable opportunity for the future of Jasper, and we look forward to playing a role in that. So
Definitely makes it more exciting for us when y'all are excited. So.
Yes, makes our jobs easy.
How do you feel?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.